And even to this day, I pass a Sonic, I get a little sick to my stomach because I would go there and I would stuff my face. I mean, just really disgusting habits that I developed with food. And I would cry afterwards. I mean, woo! Even now, just thinking about it, I haven't thought about that for so long. It takes me back to where I realized that I had an unhealthy relationship with food.
Welcome back to the Express Yourself Black Man podcast. My name is Kizzle or Kofi, and I'm a mental health advocate, public speaker, and founder of a Kizzle brand, which is a project aimed at raising awareness for depression and helping people through difficult times. Studies show that on average, men lose 2.8 years of their life when they're under heavy stress. The point of this podcast is for me to gain those 2.8 years back. As a Black man, society often tries to tell me what I can't do, or talk about, which can often leave me feeling trapped. And so this podcast is my release. Yo, I'm here with Tiara Arvinger. She is the COO of Support Black Colleges and an actress. Tiara, how are you?
I'm feeling good. Tired, but I'm here. Good tired. But yeah, I'm feeling great. How are you?
I'm good. I actually just got back from the gym. So yeah, just been working and trying to figure out stuff for what I want to do for Black Friday. I'm kind of behind on Black Friday, but I'm giving myself grace because this is my first year and all that stuff. So next year I'll do a lot better. But I know you guys have so much stuff that's probably rolling out around this time. I know we were talking last time we talked was like a few weeks ago, and you were running around then too. So I can only imagine holiday season, what that looks like for you guys.
Yeah, it's actually going to be really chill, kind of, sort of, because this is our first year where we have our 3PL. And so we have people doing all that work for us. So we'll have a distribution center that's shipping and making all the stuff. So it's a huge weight off my shoulders. So I don't know, I'm like actually relaxed. I don't know.
That's fire.
We'll see.
That's fire. Okay. So I know everybody's probably thinking, how the heck did Tiara become the COO of Support Black Colleges? How is she here? What is her story? So can you tell me how did you become the COO of Support Black Colleges? And then also, how do you balance that with you trying to be an actor and going in that field as well?
Yeah, so man, I'll try to give the shortest version of the story possible.
Don't give the shortest version. Give enough detail, I guess, what I was saying. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll start from the beginning. I was living in North Carolina. I was managing a Plato's Closet in High Point. And it's interesting because I didn't know at the time that I was depressed until after the fact. So we'll get back to that. So that's what I was doing. I would be talking to Corey periodically, and he would be like, why don't you quit your job? Like, you're not doing really anything. You're not married. You don't have any kids. Like, and you don't have to stay there.
Let me stop you real quick for the people who is Corey, because you and I know who Corey is.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Who is Corey?
So Corey is the CEO, the owner of Support Black Colleges, and he's also my brother. We're 1 year apart. He's a year younger than me, but he was preaching to me back then about getting my life together. So I was doing that, and he was telling me, come to Atlanta, work for us, whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. This was like in the fall. I wasn't really doing anything. So fast forward to the winter time, they start working for Tyler Perry, and he's like, hey, like, they need somebody to do merchandising management for the tour. They asked us to do it. We don't want to do it. Do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah. So I got the job with Tyler Perry as a merchandising manager for that Medea's farewell tour, for that first little leg. And I mean, this happened so fast. I think the first phone call with Michelle was maybe January 11, 12. And my birthday was the 13th. I was quitting my job on my birthday to leave to get on a plane to go to California the 19th to go meet the rest of the tour in LA for my first day. So crazy fast, all that happens. I ended up not working the whole tour because they had way too many staff. So they cut some of the staff in half, and I came back to Atlanta. So I was like, you know what? I could go home or I could stay here. Corey was like, well, you can stay here and work for me and Justin. We need help. I'm like, okay. So I brought all my stuff to Atlanta. I mean, I packed everything into my little Nissan, and I just drove to Atlanta, and I never looked back. So me, Corey, and Justin lived together in their 2-bedroom apartment, and we ran Support Black Colleges for about 5 months that way. The three of us, me and Corey sharing the bedroom. Justin had his room, and we live with the stuff. Y'all, if you've seen the Instagram, you've seen that post where
of course
it's like all the stuff is all over the floor, all over the wall. They didn't even cook because they couldn't use the kitchen because it was full of hoodies. Like the stuff was just everywhere.
Right.
So I was doing customer service and packaging orders for them. I was shipping. I was dragging a recycling bin full of orders down steps to the post office every single day.
Oh, man.
And after that, we kind of realized like, this is the team. Like we need you. We want you to stay and work for us. And well, I guess that was a short version, but just to say that, man, God really showed out. I mean, he really just so quickly too, like just took me from doing something that I really did not care about at all to doing something that really changed my life in a matter of 3 or 4 months. And we moved into our first space at Letters Creek Apparel. We were sharing a space with them. And that was that. And then we just took off from there. So yeah, that's how we got here.
So there's so many things that you said in there that I want to highlight, because I think a lot of people, they see Support Black Colleges, they see you, they see Corey, they see Justin, and they're like, damn, man, I want to be them. And we were talking and we were like, yo, people don't understand what goes on behind the scenes. Like everything looks so lit on Instagram. It looks cool. I know we see the numbers and we are like, yo, I want to be there. But people didn't know you were living in a 2-bedroom apartment with 2 other guys. And y'all weren't able to use the kitchen for months.
And what's so funny is Corey and I, like, obviously we're grown now and we have become friends, but we didn't always get along. And so when I realized I was moving into not just his apartment, but sharing a bedroom, I'm like, am I going to be able to do this, or are we going to kill each other in 2 weeks?
Right. Right.
Are we going to survive long enough to do anything? And so obviously it worked out, but that's hard being an adult to have to go back, especially when you were living on your own or you were being more independent, to go back. And a lot of people are not willing to just go back. I mean, thank God I didn't pay any rent while I was there. I mean, I could have stay here for free and work here for us and we'll pay you. And it worked out so well. It was no other way I could have come to that place other than just, divine favor. But it definitely was a rough patch in the beginning, just even getting a flow, who's doing what and how much work I was going to be doing. Some days I had like a lot to do. Some days I had next to nothing to do, managing my free time, all of that. It took a lot.
Man. And the one thing that really stands out to me is when I hear this story, I think about how much you had to literally let go of your ego and your pride in that moment. And if you were prideful, if you held on to your ego, you're not here. And also we can honestly say Support Black Colleges is probably not where it's at right now. So I think that's a really big lesson for a lot of us, because a lot of people would have probably been like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna do my own thing. Like, I don't know if I want to piggyback off y'all. I don't know if I want to be living with y'all right now and trying to help y'all with something that y'all started. I don't know if that's really the vibe. But letting go of your ego, man, that's something I think we all are still learning how to do. Like, I'm still learning how to do it. I still learn how to do it. So I think it's so important that we highlight that, because a lot of people, they just don't know how to let go because it's hard. It's hard. Yeah. And I just want to take it back. So you were talking about, you said you didn't know you were depressed, right? So let's rewind back there. So what was that like for you? How did you eventually find out that you were depressed? Like, take us through that story.
So it was kind of a 2-part situation. Excuse me. One of my closest friends, Renee, I love her dearly, who lives in North Carolina still. I remember one day, this is when I was still living there, and it was probably like right on the cusp of me realizing that I was not doing well. I had reached a point where I would go to work, I would come home, I would sit in the car for hours, and mind you, I was living at home, so my mom and my grandma were there. I would just sit outside in the car. Some days I would bawl uncontrollably. Get it together, go in the house. I mean, this was happening a lot. Other days I developed really unhealthy eating habits. Like, I would go to Sonic And even to this day, I pass a Sonic, I get a little sick to my stomach because I would go there and I would stuff my face. I mean, just really disgusting habits that I developed with food. And I would cry afterwards. I mean, whoa, even now, just thinking about it, I haven't thought about that for so long. It takes me back to where I realized that I had an unhealthy relationship with food. And so all these things were happening. And so one day I was telling my friend and she was like, Tiara, do you realize that that's not okay? Like, I think, and obviously she's one of my best friends. So she said this sincerely. She's like, I think something may be wrong with you. Like, you have to, you need to be praying about that and figuring out what's going on there because this is not healthy. You're doing things, but you're not dealing with the real issue. And I think that I knew I had outgrown North Carolina. I knew I had outgrown that place in my life, but I was too afraid to leave it. I was too afraid to leave the security blanket of being able to stay at home, knowing where everything was. What happens if I get to wherever I go and I don't make it? And so all that to say, she didn't use the D word at the time, but she was like, something is not okay. Right. I think Corey kind of picked up on it too, because he was like, you're miserable. Like you complain about this job all the time. And it wasn't like regular complaining about work. Like, we all complain about work because it's work. Right. But I was treated like a slave. I hate to say it that way, but I really was treated like a slave at Plato's Closet. But I dealt with it because I loved my staff. And so I finally did all that, whatever that was then. I get here, I move, and I get into therapy. And that's when I realized, like, wait a minute. I knew that I was depressed by that time, but taking it back to how it happened, and it took me back to that last 6-7 months of being in North Carolina, developing those habits, the crying, all that stuff that I was going through, the fatigue, feeling like I weighed so much more than I actually did. All of those pieces started getting put together once I started talking to somebody. And then, of course, things started to slowly change.
Man, oh my God. What a story, man. What a story. And one thing that really stands out to me is you had a friend. You had a friend that was able to hold you accountable. And then not only were they able to hold you accountable, but you were also receptive to that. Like a lot of times, if one of those is missing, then we don't end up getting where we need to get to. So like either we have friends that are complacent or complicit or whatever you want to call it in our behavior, and they allow us to act in the ways that we act, or we are not receptive to when our friends are telling us like, yo, bro, you need to be better, right? And so you had both of those pieces, which allowed you to say, okay, you know what? I do need to get help. And one thing that we talked about was how you did a lot of research. So can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I think a lot of people solely rely on like mental health professionals, not knowing that there's a lot of information out there when it comes to healing and trying to figure out your mental health.
Yeah, I definitely started with just some basic Google searches. And I know that we joke about like when you look up something wrong, what's wrong with me or what's this and that on Google, it tells you all these crazy things. But that really, honestly, doing research with an open mind and using discernment, that's part of the reason why people, they look things up and then they get discouraged or they feel like, well, this doesn't match because they're not using discernment. But using discernment paired with doing my research helped me understand that I was fatigued and not tired, and understanding the difference between the two. Fatigue and I still deal with fatigue sometimes. I can tell when it's that because it's more than just feeling tired. It's like getting out of bed. I feel like I'm taking a 400-pound man with me. And it's like, oh my gosh. Okay. I'm like, okay, so this is a day where I'm dealing with fatigue. Right. And so that's one of the main ones that I remembered, realizing that my new ADHD or my new like inability to stay focused could be a sign of depression. And so was that paired with the fatigue, paired with the impending feeling of doom, the hopelessness, the this, the that, the unhealthy eating habits, the fear and all that stuff coupled together. And then I started to be able to put the pieces together like, oh yes, because this one particular day this happened. And oh yeah, because when I got home, and all of that together made me realize that, okay, there's something that I need to address.
Man, you put that together so well. You put that together so well. There was another thing that we talked about, right? And I think this is so important to mention. We talked about how, so we did our consultation right? Where you went over the business and you were telling me some things about Express Yourself Black Man, some things that I could do with Shopify and all that good stuff. And I greatly appreciate you for that because you've helped me a lot. Yes. But then you were telling me how you, like, I was asking you, I was like, yo, what? Like, I didn't even know you did consultations. And he's like, yeah, I keep it on low. I don't really talk too much about it, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, a part of me, I feel like I have imposter syndrome and like this is something I'm working on. So can you please, first of all, explain what imposter syndrome is and tell me how it shows up for you? Because I think it's so important that you specifically talk about it because people are literally probably listening to this like, yo, I want to be Tiara. I want to be Tiara, right? And they don't even understand the depths of the things that you go through, right? Like they really don't understand. So please just break down imposter syndrome and how it shows up for you.
Yeah, so I'll do my best to give a good definition of this. I kind of think of it as like, I feel like I'm pretending to be somebody that I'm not. Mm-hmm. Like I'm walking around pretending to be a version of Tiara that I'm actually not. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's interesting because I have to remind myself, well, if this is something that feels real to me, why do I treat it like it's some kind of facade? You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I guess how I'm dealing with that now is, first of all, staying in my word and remembering that I am who God says I am, regardless of anything else. That's the first part of it. But also really exploring these things and doing the things that I feel like I'm not equipped for. Who says I'm not equipped to do any of that stuff? Right. Why do I feel like I'm not equipped to do consultations based on my level of expertise just because of somebody else and how they do their consultations? They're doing it based off of their level of expertise. And you're a witness to this. I'm quick to tell somebody, hey, this is not my area, but I can send you to somebody who this is their area. Because I know that when it comes to running ads, I can give you some basic information, but don't talk to me for too long about that because I don't, you know what I'm saying? Facts. So I think that that's kind of how I combat it is I know what I know. I don't know what I don't know, but I will learn. And I'm always willing to learn about whatever that thing is or explore it and not being afraid to move into that territory because a lot of people have not even asked themselves, well, why do I feel like I'm pretending to be somebody that I'm not? And once you ask yourself that question, I think that's when it really starts to, the gates start to open up and you start putting things together and you're like, wow, like that. Yeah. And it really changes the whole mindset. I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah.
No, you did. You absolutely did. And I think you gave a really good way for people to kind of tease out why they feel like they have imposter syndrome, which is do some self-reflection. And that's something that I talk about all the time. Do some introspection. Ask yourself these questions, like exactly what you said. Why do I feel like I am not equipped to do what it is that I'm doing? Like, because there's obviously a reason as to why you're doing it. And there's also a reason as to why you feel like you're not equipped to do it. So answering those questions for yourself will really help you to find a path to take to dealing with imposter syndrome. And I think there was another thing that you mentioned when we were having like our pre-session talking about the podcast. You were saying something about That's So Raving and dressing up and like that being like an example as to how you feel when dealing with imposter syndrome. Do you remember?
Yes. So I would say that, but it's something else that I just thought about imposter syndrome too. While a lot of people I think are not asking themselves that question, they're afraid that it's going to expose some motives that they have that are not totally pure. And so you can't be afraid to expose yourself, whatever that thing is. If you feel like you're pretending to be something you're not, why? So that actually is a perfect tie into That's So Raven because, she would come out, she would want something, put on this elaborate outfit, get an accent. She just had mustaches glued and all this stuff on her to go and do something. And it always flopped because she was, she was pretending. She was dressed up as something. She would trip on something and then the whole costume would come over. Like it was always something. And that is sometimes how I feel when I go into like these spaces, especially in the e-commerce space, because I am not like some guru or some mogul. I'm somebody who works for somebody still, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so like, even with Swarm College, I'm not the owner, I'm not the CEO. I'm still a step below that, which is fine with me. But it's like, I feel like, oh my gosh, I don't belong in this space because I am not the founder, the CEO, the owner of, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, I work here.
Well, first of all,
that's how I be feeling. Like I'm putting on the costume of a mogul telling somebody else what to do. But I have to just remember that, you know, I do what I do based off of what's comfortable to me and my level of expertise and so on and so forth. But yeah.
Absolutely. And I know I've already told you this, but I'm going to say it again. You absolutely know what you're doing, because in that consultation, I was blown away. First of all, at your level of preparation. I just people that are in your position a lot of times don't come that prep because they just think that they know it and they're just gonna get there and just wing it and it'll be good regardless. You were prepped and you were actually worried about being underprepared. And I was just like, I was like, bro, you literally have everything that I asked you down, and then on top of that, you already have answers and you're taking notes, and you did the extra to go and find people for the questions that weren't related to what it is that your area of expertise. So I was blown away. I was perfectly fine, like perfectly fine. So I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you're doing it well. So I mean, I hear you when you say like, yeah, you know, it's not, you know, I'm not the founder and blah blah. I'm like, listen, bro, come on, cut it out. All right, like that's just how I feel personally, because honestly, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. And it's evident based on definitely the conversation that we had in the consultation. So, yeah. So, okay. I wanted to ask you, there was a last thing that I wanted to talk about, which was, we talked a little bit about it earlier, but I wanted to tease it out a little bit more. So people wanting to be in your position, right? Like that have a business, that have something that they're starting. What are some things that you would say to them about getting to your level and maintaining, I guess, their mental health at the level that you're at, or like throughout the process? Like, what are some things that, like, just some things or some words of advice that you would try to give someone that's coming up?
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. I can be motivational, but a lot of times I'm not, because I want people to do what's real to them. And I think that dealing with the deep down, dark inside stuff is a lot of times what makes the difference between people who are really successful and people who are not. And so one of the first things that I like to ask people is, why do you want to do this? What is your real reasoning behind why you want to sell sporting equipment? Okay, why do you want to do this? Now, some people's answers are not all deep and emotional, but they have to be real, and they have to be real to you. And so I would challenge anybody who's an entrepreneur to be honest about why you want to do this. And is this even the best outlet for it? Because, you know, you don't want to set yourself up for a lot of disappointment. You and I talked about that with merch and clothing, like how it makes sense for you to do this now, but had you come to me without your page and said it, I probably would have told you not to do it.
Right.
Because it didn't make sense at the time, but now it does. And so that's one of the things is get deep, get real with yourself about your motives. Why are you doing this? What is the purpose of doing this? Do you just want that title? Do you just want to be able to say you're the CEO of something? Do you just want to say you own something? Because that's not going to sustain you when you have a month where you do 5 sales. That title not going to mean shit to you when you make them 5 sales. You're not going to be thinking about that title. You're going to be thinking about, why I'm only making 5 sales. And so you have to be real with yourself about that, number one, and stay humble. I think we hear that word a lot, but we don't really think about what that really means. Humility is not shading your own gifts and talents and the good things about you. It's not saying like, oh, I'm not this, or no, I'm not that. No, real humility is, am I willing to do what somebody else will not be doing? I like to think of humility kind of like, this is completely off topic, but like, you know, when foreigners come to this country, and then you got those type of white people that's like, they're stealing our jobs, but they're doing the jobs that you would never do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, to me, that shows humility. I'm going to come here and I'm going to just do what need to be done so that I can feed my family. Are you willing to just do what needs to be done? Are you willing to step down from something? Are you willing to wear the same suit to every conference you go to until it makes sense for you to buy another one? Are you willing to keep driving that busted Honda to the multi-millionaires convention until you can actually afford it? Or are you too busy trying to look like you have money? What are you really, are you really willing to make that sacrifice of your own ego, like you talked about, and keep it humble, and thanking God for everything. If you don't believe in God, I don't know what you do, but thanking God, just saying, I don't know what to tell y'all, but thanking God in every step. Are you just grateful to do what you're doing? Are you just happy to have that skill? Are you just happy to have that talent? Really, really reveling in the fact that I can do something. I have a gift and a talent. And so, yeah, those would be my two things. Why are you doing this? And be honest with yourself about why you're doing it. Because this is how I feel, even if you're doing it for a bad reason, once you expose that, now it can be dealt with.
Right.
Going to the doctor, you got a pain in your stomach and you haven't exposed what the issue is. Of course, it's just going to get worse. Once they tell you, oh, well, this is an ulcer. Oh, bet now we can treat it and we can move on. Thanks. So let's expose that ulcer. What is the real reason? And then if it's bad, we work on that. And then we figure it out. Thanks. And then stay humble. True humility, not, no, real humility. And you're going to be straight.
Oh my God. No, because that's really what people think being humble is. Oh no, I just have a little business. He does $500K a month. I'm just,
No, that's that's not actual humility, because then those same people are really only doing it so that you can think that they're humble instead of actually being humble. Because if you call it a little business, but then when one of your employees who do something like bottom, an MWA, and you don't want to do it, but you just a 2-person business. Oh, well, then maybe you're not as humble as you think you are. So,
and you know what, man? There's one thing that you really reminded me of, and I wanted to talk about it, is that instant gratification versus delayed gratification. A lot of people, they want to start a business because they just want clout. Right? Like, this is a lot of people, they want that clout. They want to be able to say, I'm a CEO, I'm a founder or something. My business is doing this, my business is doing that. And when the clout runs out, because eventually a post is not going to do well, you're not going to do well during a month. That's when you really are able to determine whether you're doing it for clout or if you're doing it because you're passionate. Because I've had many months, I've had weeks. I'm having a week right now where posts just aren't doing well. I'm putting stuff up. I'm like, yo, this is dope. I'll put it up. Like 50 likes. I'm like, damn. I'm like, damn. I thought this was real. I worked really hard on this one, right? Like, I worked really hard. But I'm doing it because I know that out of those 50 likes or however many views, someone's gonna see it and it's gonna impact somebody. And my whole mission is that if I put something out and it impacts at least one person, then I'm doing my job. So that's what I align myself with. And it's also delayed gratification. I tell people all the time. I started a Kizzle brand in 2017. If you go and look at the Kizzle brand Instagram page right now, it is not over 900 followers. It's not over 900 followers. I've been doing this. You get what I'm saying? Like, I didn't just start Express Yourself Black Man this year and then it popped and like that was the first thing that I tried. I started a Kizzle brand in 2017 and I was consistent, like not as consistent as I am now, but I would post every so often, right? It just never took off. But I always understood the assignment, which was it was I'm doing this to help people. So regardless of what the posts look like, regardless of what the numbers look like, if I help one person, I'm good. And that's what helps me to stay consistent. So asking yourself why you're doing it is so important. And also that humility. Like, I've done everything when it comes to Express Yourself Black Man. The content creation, the podcast editing, the modeling, the graphic design, the merch design, the website. I have done every single role. There is
we know you model because you got your haircut, then you didn't know how to act after that.
I took one picture. I took one picture, put it up. I said, nah, they talking. You know why I did that too? Because they kept on getting on me about my mustache. People kept hitting me with it, bro. You look like a cop. You look like a Texas Ranger with that mustache. I said, nah, they trying to play the kid. I got to get the haircut and let them know.
I'm sorry,
I know. You good. But nah, seriously though, like honestly, there has been no job that I have not done. And on top of that, what people don't realize is when you do all of the different
roles in your business, now you're able to hire better. Like you're able to hire a lot better. And I know you know this, right? Because now you're able, because we had a conversation about this. Like you were talking about how, you know, you could do like, I guess like 50 shirts or however many shirts in a certain amount of time. So when you see certain employees not doing that, you're like, oh no.
25, what's the issue?
What's going on, right?
Is the shoulder dislocated? Why is it taking so long?
Exactly. And now for me, it's like I have an editor now for the podcast. I have an editor now for that does the YouTube and stuff. So I know exactly what it is that I'm looking for when it comes to editing, when it comes to graphic design, all that kind of stuff. So I can make it such a streamlined process. I literally just go in Trello, I create a task, tell them exactly what I need, and then we go from there. But I'm not able to do that if I don't play all those different roles, right? And then the Kizzle brand played a valuable role, because throughout those 4 years of it not popping, I was learning about all the different things that it took me to start and make Express Yourself Black Man pop. Literally all the different facets of the business, like website design, merch design, that marketing, all that kind of stuff, I learned from a Kizzle brand, and I applied it to Express Yourself Black Man. So sometimes you gotta have that business that you start that doesn't do well to really propel you into your season of doing well when you need it. So listen, man, I'm so glad you talked about the humility, because we got to just get down as entrepreneurs. We honestly, a lot of us don't have enough capital to hire out. So you have to do all the different facets. You have to do all the different roles. You have to perform them.
Yeah. And I think we talked about this a little bit at your consultation, because that's one part of humility, is being able to do. The other part is, you know, always giving honor to God, being grateful for what you're able to do. But I think another part of it that's kind of not directly correlated, but it kind of is making sure that whatever your brand is, your vision is, that you are healed in that area before you try to tell somebody else how to do anything. And I think with Express Yourself Black Man, we talked about your journey and how you healed from your mental health crisis that you were going through before you started this, because you realized, like, I cannot talk about mental health in the Black community, specifically to Black men, when I have not done the work myself. And I think a lot of times people have one fulfilling experience in a certain situation, and they go write a book, or they go start a podcast, or they go start trying to do conferences and speaking in places. And it's like, no. That was one successful relationship. And now you out here telling women how to be feminine, have feminine energy, and get a man when you don't even know how you really got this man. Listen. So, you know, it's just like, did you really do the work? Are you really that girl? And I'm not saying anybody in particular, that's just one that popped into my head. I was trying to figure out who I'm talking about. But is it really like that? Or did you just have that one successful relationship that made you feel like, whoa, well, I got this man, I can tell y'all how to do anything.
And you know, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I want to talk about that a little bit. I tell people all the time, first of all, critically think when you get on social media. This is a trending topic of mine. I always talk about it. Critically think when you get on social media, because there are a lot of people that are talking like they're experts and they're not experts. And I'll be the first to tell people, I am not an expert. I am a Black man that's still in therapy, that's still healing, and I am learning, and I'm giving you guys the things that I'm learning that's helping me. Right. So I've been through a few relationships, and I've been doing some healing, and these are the things that work for me. I am by no means an expert. That is exactly why I'm trying to get into my master's program, so I can start learning a lot more and then be able to give that to the community as well. But I'm by no means an expert, right? Like, I'm just going through things and just learning, and then trying to apply what I've learned. And then once I apply what I've learned, I'm like, okay, this works for me. Maybe it can work for somebody else. And that's it.
Corey and Justin are great about that. Like, today's Tuesday, yesterday and today, they've been in conferences on the computer for the past 2 days. Like, every now and then they'll pop up and be like, I'm going to this training, I'm going to this workshop, or, you know, text me if you need me. I'm reading this, I'm reading a new ebook or whatever. Like, I think staying a student is a great sign of humility. Somebody who understands that, like, okay, I know this much, but there's still this much to know. And there's still this much ways to grow. So let me just keep at it so that I can continue to provide value, reasonable value, legitimate value, real value to people, because we deal with real people. So,
and that's a fact. And if you look at this podcast and look at just the community and the platform in general, it's a testament to that. Anytime, any of the topics that I talk about, I could talk about it just by myself, right? Like I could always just give my input on it, but I always bring people in. I bring Black women in, I bring Black men in, I bring queer Black men in, because it's important that we hear different perspectives. And when I'm hearing these perspectives, I'm learning more and I'm staying open-minded to the different ideas. And that's part of critical thinking, is taking in different ideas and helping and trying to figure out if they make sense or not, and how they align with the things that you've been taught in the past. And all that kind of stuff. So yeah, man, like this whole platform is a testament to that. Like I always bring people in and try to hear different perspectives, because I'm a student of the game, right? Like I'm a student of the game, man. So man, this has been a dope conversation. Last thing I want to end it off with is, are there any special things that y'all have coming up, support Black colleges, or that you have coming up that you can actually talk about?
All right, that's what I'm thinking. Like, what can I say?
That you can actually talk about, because we don't want to get you in trouble. But yeah,
right.
Anything that you have that you think will be dope to talk about, definitely. Let's see. Do you have anything?
I think the only thing that comes to mind, SBC Cares, our nonprofit, is officially up and running, and so it is ran by my mom. She moved down to Atlanta in July, and so she's been, she out here running the streets and helping us at support Black colleges. But SBC Cares is the name of our nonprofit. Definitely follow us on Instagram. We'll be doing some stuff very soon. Yeah, getting our board together now, our executive board. That's part of one of the first things we're doing. Planning events for all of 2022 and beyond. Let's see. I already talked about the production side. We officially moved all of that to Miami, and so everything will be shipped and made out from there. We still run by people of color, still Black owned. All people like, oh, y'all sold out. No, we're still very much Black.
Let them know. Let them know.
Let's see. As far as me personally, I've been auditioning a lot lately.
Yeah, I've seen some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's a great feeling to be able to do what I really love, my passion, and pursue my dream while I'm working with Support Black Colleges. I had an audition today in person, and then I also filmed today something. So, and I think right after Thanksgiving, I might be going to do something else. So, yeah, that's what I came to do.
Listen, okay, I like that. Okay, on that note, we will end the episode. Tiara, it was great having you. Thank you for your transparency.
Yes, thank you so much for asking me to do this.
Yes, this has been dope.
Thank you for taking the time out to listen to this episode. I truly appreciate you. So I really hope you got some valuable insight, and I hope I helped in some capacity, whether it be through the platform or the podcast. If you like to support for free, you can like this video if you're on YouTube, or you can share and subscribe regardless of what platform you're listening to the episode on. If you like to support monetarily, now we talking, you can go to shop.expressyourselfblackman.com and get yourself some merch. We have a hoodie, we have sweatsuits, we have shirts, we have hats. We also have an ebook on how to heal, where I discuss breakups, depression and suicidal ideations, anxiety, and attachment styles. I go in depth about my story with dealing with all of those things, and then I explain how to heal in an easy guide. It's easy to follow. It's easy to go from reading to implementing. So if you're interested in that as well, it's in the shop. The book is called From Hurting to Healing, A Black Man's Guide to Feeling. So consider supporting monetarily, but regardless of how you support, I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day. Sometimes I know you feel like you ain't got nobody to speak to. Shoulder to lean on somebody you could preach to. Know you need to hear it, my brother, I love you. We got way too much to live for. We got way too much to live for. When we get it all, we want more. Like you lost another one. When we get it, still we want more. I know it's hard, but you just gotta push on through. Only Brody always tryna bring you. If you ever feeling down, bro, you're never alone. If you ever feeling down, you can always hit my phone. If you ever feeling down, bro, you're never alone. Okay, hey, I'm your shoulder to lean on. Express yourself, de-stress yourself. I don't wanna talk about me, tell me how you feeling well. Since you know that you alive, but this earth feeling